You know what that sound means. It's time for the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, or Dane Bradshaw's BFF. And we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros. I'm glad to know we got celebrity. Maybe we can get Dane on the show. That'd be cool. You think you can pull that? You're his BFF. So. Did I just lose you, Rustin? Are you still there? Are you? I think I hear him again now. Are you back? All right, you're there. It froze up on you for a second.
Actually, I think it was you.
Oh, it was me?
Yeah.
Well, one of us, it froze up on one of us for sure.
Yeah.
Well, here's our plan for tonight. We're going to recap this game real quick. And then we got one thing about the Lady Vols and then one thing about the football Vols. Foot Vols, I guess we call them. And so that's the plan for this evening. So if you happen to miss it, the Tennessee basketball team beat LSU this afternoon, and it wasn't very close. What were your initial reactions to that, Rustin?
I was a little concerned going into it when we found out Urosh wasn't going to play because Olivia Kamwa hasn't been effective at all for the last couple of weeks. And we had a pleasant surprise when Santiago announced wasn't only playing, he was actually starting, and everybody was like, What the heck? Yeah. He was supposed to be out till early February.
Yeah.
So that was really surprising, but it was, some people talked about it. They started what potentially is our best lineup with Zakai, Santi, Julian Phillips, Triple J, and Olivier. I'm not so sure it is with Olivier right now. That guy drives me crazy. He is so inconsistent. Yeah. And it's terrible because he could be so good. But I felt like the offensive balance was incredible. They dominated LSU in every possible way, jumped out to an early lead, and then coasted through the second half, and it was never really in doubt.
Yeah. Initial reaction was defensively, they played really well. I know that LSU started 3 for 3 from the floor, but I mean, they're hitting shots like that. That happens in basketball. If they're contested shots and they're hitting them, then good for them. You just don't want to give like wide open layups and wide open shots and stuff like that. So obviously defensively, and Dane Bradshaw said it, your BFF, he said it on the broadcast that it's the best defensive team in America. And so we saw that again tonight. The only thing
points off turnovers.
Oh, that's incredible. I mean, that's an incredible stat. The only thing, and I know this is a Rick Barnes thing, and I just don't get it. I don't understand it. But when we're up by 22 with a minute and a half left in the game, clear the bench. That's my only thing. Like, get your starters out of the game because nothing good can happen there. I mean, people could get hurt unnecessarily. Like, the game is over at that point. They're not going to score 22 points in a minute and a half. Clear the bench. Preserve injury. That's my only beef with the whole game. But, I mean, it's hard to argue with Rick Barnes. He's one of the most successful coaches in the history of college basketball. So but if there was one thing that I could say, that would be it.
The problem they have is they don't really have a bench. They've been playing 10 guys all year, and they're trying to redshirt everybody else. So, I mean, really, when you take Urosh out of the equation, now you're down to 9. Yeah. They took Santi and Zakai out, but really there's not many other, and Josiah, but really there was nobody left unless you put the 2 walk-ons in. And I don't know why he refuses to put them in except at home. That's always really odd. He never puts the walk-ons in the road. But, they don't really have anybody else.
Well, who was your player of the game tonight?
It was awesome to see Josiah finally at full form. I thought he played exceptionally well on both ends of the floor. I thought at times he was a tone setter on defense. He does an amazing job helping his teammates defensively. He might be the most underrated defensive player in America. He just sees everything so well. Takes charges all over the place. Just a fantastic defensive player. But to see him really wanting the ball and being extremely aggressive on offense was great to see. he looked like 100% what he was before the injury. And yeah, I tell you, going into this time of year, if we can have nights where Zakai, Santi, Josiah, Julian, and Tyreek are all being aggressive with the ball, that's hard to stop.
Yeah. My player of the game, and if you're watching right now, you can let us know your player of the game in the comments, and we'll post a link if you'd like to join us on screen here in a minute. We'll post that. My player of the game, this was tough because obviously Zakai, I mean, he ran the show tonight. He really did. Um, you know, easily. I mean, he had a double-double, I think.
He did 12
Yeah.
and 10.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, I mean, easily you could say he's player of the game. I'm going to give it to Josiah for one primary reason. And obviously, he was leading scorer with 22 points, but that's not it. It's when he scored, particularly early in the game, that he stemmed the tide early in the game when LSU couldn't miss. I think Tennessee's first bucket even was Josiah hitting a three from the top of the key. They had LSU come down, scored the first possession of the game. Tennessee comes down, and Josiah hits a three. LSU gets up. They're up. They got 7 points, and I think we were either 2 or 4 at the time. And LSU's not missing at that time. Josiah comes down. Sonny hits him in the middle of the lane. Josiah hits a turnaround jumper. Those seem like small little things, but in that moment, when you're seeing the other team, they can't miss, and we're matching that every trip down the floor, that's a huge deal. Because if we don't hit, then all of a sudden, psychologically, you're thinking, oh, man, we better start hitting, or, I mean, they're not missing. So, and then all of a sudden you might be rushing shots or forcing shots. And so, I mean, those are huge buckets early in the game, and it doesn't seem like it's huge, but it was, because it kept Tennessee, step for step, right, with LSU when LSU wasn't hitting. And then we saw LSU, the real LSU stood up, and because they don't average very many points a game. And so then we saw that shooting percentage take over after that initial flurry of shots that they made. But I have an honorable mention, and I almost gave this my player of the game to him anyway, and that's Tyreek Key. There was a run. It was a 13-3 run, and it's where Tennessee really started to pull away. During that 13-3 run, Tyreek hit 3 shots during that 13-3 run, and he was a major factor in the outcome of that game. Because once you see the team get up over, like when they got to 17, man, it's hard mentally. It's hard to come back from 17 down. That's when it does happen. It's so impressive. And so Tyreek Key was a huge factor in that. Like you said, he was being aggressive when he did tonight what he was brought to Tennessee to do.
Yep.
Which is to be a shooter. That's why he's here. He was brought here to be a scorer and a shooter. And we saw him do that tonight. We saw him look for open shots. And that was encouraging to see as a fan. So if you had to single out one play specifically during the game, what was your play of the game?
So that was hard. I really kind of went with one that probably wasn't overly important in the scope of the game, but I thought it was symbolic of how Tennessee played all night. There was a play in the second half where Santiago drove from the top of the key, got up in the air, and from one side of the lane threw a skip pass to the opposite wing to Zakai. Zakai had a fairly open jumper for a three, passed it up to get it to Jemai Meshack at the free throw line for a more open jumper, which at the time, some people might go, why in the world is Z passing the ball up to Meshack? But Meshack needed a confidence booster. And in that moment, it was a perfect opportunity for him to get an open jumper and see a ball go in. And just the unselfishness of Zakai passing up an open three, mostly open three, to get Jemai a look.
Jemai pump faked and took one dribble and hit a jumper from the free throw line. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. And I felt like it spoke volumes to who they are as a team. Just such a high basketball IQ to recognize we need to get that guy going. So I'm going to pass this up to get him a better shot. Just to me, it just symbolized the entire night. They were fantastic sharing the basketball. They were fantastic finding open opportunities. It was a great possession.
So we didn't talk about this beforehand, like which play we were picking and stuff, but I picked the exact same play. And the reason I picked it was because that was beautiful basketball. Like that is good basketball. That is what basketball is supposed to be. Like that, I was just watching that happen. You had dribble penetration, a kick out to an open shot, make the extra pass. He catches it, pump fakes, takes a guy flies by him, takes one dribble, and hits a jumper from the free throw line. That is good basketball. Like that was beautiful to watch. Beautiful ball movement. I mean, that's how you beat a defense. You move the ball and make the defense move. And then when they play it, that's when you take advantage of it. And so that was beautiful basketball. I loved watching that. And beautiful shot fake by Jemai. Guy flies past him. Jemai has a wide open jumper from the free throw line and he buried it. I mean, that was gorgeous. So that was my play of the game as well. Definitely my play of the game. So as we move on to other topics, I'm going to go ahead and put in the comments on Facebook and YouTube, and I'll post it on Twitter. If you'd like to join us on screen, you can. You just click on that link and you'll show up backstage, and then I'll bring you on the show here. Just remember that it is a family show. So we want to make sure that we remember that. But I just put it on YouTube and Facebook, and now I'm posting in the comments as a reply on Twitter. And so if you would like to join us, you're more than welcome to. If you want to just have, your voice on and not your face, so you can turn your camera off and join that way. Or we'd love for you to comment in the comments. But we'll still talk about the BasketVols if you want to talk about that. But we're going to also mention two other quick things. We're going to mention the Lady Vols, and we're going to mention the new transfer that we just got in football as well. So first, let's talk about the Lady Vols. Still undefeated in SEC play. And man, they had a great week this week. And what an appropriate week to have a good week when you're honoring Pat Summitt all week long. I mean, that was, they did the Summit Blue uniforms on Sunday, and then they were still having We Back Pat week this on Thursday. And so just a really good week for the Lady Vols. And man, both games, it was like the men's game tonight. They were not close. They handled business in both games. What do you think about the Lady Vols this week?
I tell you, I don't know that anybody in the country is playing better than Rakia Jackson right now.
I think that's a very fair statement.
It's incredible. She seems to thrive on coming off the bench. She loves being the sixth man. When she comes in, it is immediate scoring. What I love though is they've almost created two styles of play. When she's not in, they're an extremely methodical, probing, penetrating kick, trying to create open jumpers for each other team. When she comes in, they become a slashing, attack the basket, find ways to get Rakia the ball in space, which, it's really paying dividends for them, because you really have two very different styles of play, so that whoever they're playing, whatever they do defensively, Tennessee just does the opposite. And they're very successful. Making sure that they do a good job with it. So it's really interesting watching both dynamics and watching them, really kind of read what the defense is going to give them, and then playing two very different styles, but doing both really effectively.
Yeah, and Tess Darby can flat out shoot the ball. Like, she can shoot the ball. That was one thing you mentioned, dribble penetration, kick it out. Well, this week on full display, Tess Darby was really shooting. And you're right, Rakia, man, nobody is playing as well as her. Nobody. And so, yeah, that's unfortunate. So the guy who's currently commenting on YouTube, we appreciate you watching. But let's also be wise in what we say online. How about that? And so won't show that one on the screen. Normally we show the comments on the screen, but not going to show that one. So Lady Vols obviously playing really well. Last topic for the day. Football added, in my opinion, a very important transfer. Gabe Judy Lawley. I'm going to share his Instagram page there by right here so you can see what he posted on Instagram. Coming from BYU, actually used to play at Vanderbilt, transferred to BYU, and now he's coming to Tennessee. Has 2 years of eligibility, if I understand that correctly.
Yes.
And so this is when he announced his commitment to Tennessee. Man, I love that Vol script. It looks so good. It just looks good. So super excited to have him. I think, do you happen to have that statistic you had about him with his ranking?
Yeah.
So I think, all right, so I want Rustin to say this statistic because I think this is everything that we need to know about him. Before Rustin says this, I'm going to preface it by saying I understand that BYU, their strength of schedule is not the same as Tennessee's. I get that. But I want you to hear this statistic from Rustin.
So there's a national analyst who grades every position, and they have all these different analytics around how they grade positions. And this past year, there were 917 corners in America who met the criteria for this ranking. There's a lot more than that, but the rest didn't play enough snaps to meet the criteria.
So for the whole country, you're saying 917 cornerbacks in the country
who met the criteria as far as amount of downs played.
There you go. Okay.
So there's a lot more than that, but there were 917 that met the criteria. So essentially you could say it's probably the best 917.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
So out of that 917, Gabe Judy Lawley was ranked number 93. To put that in perspective to the existing Tennessee roster, Danico Slaughter was the highest ranked Vol at 315. So he's 222 spots higher than the highest ranked Vol.
And if we do a little math, there's 917 cornerbacks who qualified for this stat. 10% of that would be 91.7, so essentially 92. He's number 93. So essentially he's in the top 10%, of defensive efficiency of cornerbacks in the country. Anytime you can add a specifically, I mean, we could debate this all day. If you brought in, 5 different people, you'd probably get 5 different answers. But, well, maybe not. But, cornerback is arguably the most difficult position on defense to play. And if you have lockdown corners, then that frees up your linebackers to blitz more, that kind of thing. It's a huge deal to have corners who can cover one-on-one. And they got that in this guy. Like this is a big deal.
The hardest coverage for a quarterback is when you're able to split the field, play zone to one side and man to the other. But you've got to have fantastic players to pull that off. And if you've got a guy who can be that, it just makes the ability to call defense so much easier for the coordinator because they can do more creative things to confuse the quarterback.
Absolutely. So this was a huge pickup this week, and that happened the day after our last live stream, which is why we're just now talking about it on here. We mentioned it on Twitter. We're probably most active on Twitter, if I had to say, as far as like between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So make sure you're following us on Twitter, and I'll put that up on the screen for you now so you can see that. It's at the Vol Bros everywhere. So obviously a huge pickup in the transfer portal. Yes, the transfer portal is closed now, but people can still commit to schools. They cannot enter the transfer portal. So the front door is closed, but the back door is still open. You can still leave and pick a school if you've already entered it. It
There's
will open
another
again in a couple months.
Yeah, there's another portal session after spring practice. And I think that's, for the people who are like, we signed a few guys in the portal, and honestly, I think we did a good job in the portal. But people who are like, is this all we're going to take? I think they have to realize that, there's going to be more movement. The coaching staff doesn't know yet if anybody else on the team is going to leave after the spring.
That's
So,
exactly right.
they're kind of waiting around to see what that looks like. The other thing, and this is just personal opinion, I think the coaching staff, and I think the baseball team's following suit with this as well. I think the coaching staff recognizes the portal is where you can shore up deficiencies. It's not where you build a program. Like
That's a great point.
You've still got to go get a good, solid recruiting class. You've got to develop them to be the players that you want them to be in your system. And for the ones that don't materialize, then you go to the portal and find guys who can fill in those gaps. I think people are going to see that this year with Colorado. Everybody's raving about Coach Prime and Dion this and Dion that. I have to see it to believe it. I don't think you can go in the portal and sign 40, 50 guys and all of a sudden become a good program. Those guys are all in the portal for a reason. And a lot of them aren't good. So, they're coming in with their egos. They're coming in with their reasons for why they think they should be playing. A lot of times they don't have a good work ethic. And so, the portal is not the magic box that solves all issues.
That's a great point. Absolutely. Well, I guess we can end on this. Nico Iamaleava. I'm close. I'm close. I'm close. Iamaleava.
Getting further away.
Well, Nico. He offensive MVP of the Polynesian Bowl last night. He did have one interception. Wasn't a good throw. That was actually on the first possession of the game. But he had a 58-yard touchdown run. I believe it was 58 yards. He threw the ball on this deep go route that was beautiful. It was 50 yards in the air. That's nice. 18-year-old throwing it 50 yards in the air. That's a good thing.
To the only uncommitted 5-star tight end in America.
Who's also a baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it. I mean, why would you not come to Tennessee? I'm just saying if you're good at football and baseball, well, there's a program right now that's top 6 in both of those. There's only one that's top 6 in both of those as well. So that would be interesting if he came. That would be interesting. But very excited for Nico to go out there and perform well and walk away with offensive MVP. He had a couple really beautiful throws. Obviously the 50-yard bomb, that was nice, but a couple really nice, accurate just bullets over the middle of the field. So very, very excited about the future of Tennessee football when you consider we got Joe Milton this year and Nico coming right behind him. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. If you comment, if you're watching this on replay, if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, just know we do monitor for comments, and we will love to reply to you. That's the fun part of this, is getting to interact with people, and we always get some good comments on our videos afterwards, and we always come back, and one person even he was not agreeing with us, which is great. I like that, but I replied in the comment. He goes, "Wow, thanks for I like the fact that you guys reply," and so that's cool. We really do. I mean, we'll talk. We love to talk with you. So we appreciate everybody. Please, hey, we're invoking the Danny White rule. Text a buddy, but it's like positive stuff, not negative stuff, and let them know about the Vol Bros. Man, we really appreciate that. Hey, I was really proud of us this week. Of the last 7 days, we've posted 8 things on YouTube. I was really pumped about that. I thought that was a good week. So that's our goal, man. We're going to try to get something out there every single day for everybody, whether that be a YouTube short or an actual video. So looking forward to, this upcoming week. next Saturday, actually next Thursday and next Saturday. 2 big days in Knoxville. College Game Day is going to be there next Saturday for Tennessee at Texas, but they're also going to be there Thursday for the Lady Vols game. And I can't remember exactly what it said, but somebody put this on Twitter earlier, and Brian Rice confirmed it. Tennessee is the only school, period, the only school in the country to have College Game Day show up for football, basketball, and women's basketball, men's and women's basketball, not just in the same year, period.
Yep.
So not only is Tennessee the only school that has people or College Game Day showing up for all three of those sports, it was all in the same year too, which is impressive. So that's really exciting. So that's this upcoming Thursday and Friday. But we'll keep you posted on when we're going live next. Love you to subscribe and like the channel. That'd be awesome. Rustin, you got any last thoughts for everybody before we head out?
We're 27 days away from the Fighting Vitellos taking the field.
That's what I'm talking about. This guy, Rob, makes a good point. He said, that's because the Vols are the GOAT. That's right. Only school in the country, baby. Only school in the country to have game day for football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. And it's all in the same year. That's incredible. Thank you, Rob. That's right, man. The Vols are the GOAT. I totally agree, man. I love that. That's what I'm talking about.
They need to. They don't just need to pay Josh Heupel. They need to figure out what they're going to do to make Danny White the highest paid AD in America, and make sure he never leaves.
And is there any way? I mean, I'm being honest when I ask this. Is there any way anybody can argue with what you just said, based on the state of the program when he took over the program to where it is now? Is there any way anybody can argue that?
And everybody jokingly says everything's school, but the reality is that's true.
It's very true. Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what the sport is. Tennessee is dominating in every single sport right now. It's unbelievable. Yep.
Like I said, Lady Vols undefeated in SEC play. The men's team only one loss in SEC play. Baseball, football, both in the top 6. Men's tennis in the top 6.
Swim and dive are both nationally top 10.
I mean, like it's
women's soccer,
the golf team.
Women's soccer was incredibly strong this fall. Softball's in the top number 11 right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think golf's in the top 25 too. So
yeah, they always are. They're one of the best programs in the country. It
really is an everything school. Yep. It's hey, just like Andy Bernard said. I said it last time we were live. I'm saying it again. I wish you could know when you were in the good old days. Well, folks, we're in it. We are in the good old days right now. Like this is savor this. Remember this feeling. Like this is incredible what's happening athletically on Rocky Top right now. It's really incredible.
Before we go, I do have one other thing, because again, it speaks to Danny White. Can we talk about Florida's NIL issues?
Sure.
Because it is fascinating. It is fascinating what is happening down there right now. So for those who haven't been following it, Florida released Jaden Rashada from his national letter of intent because essentially there was no money in their NIL collective. And they promised him $13 million and they can't pay. So here's where that gets fascinating. They are claiming that he signed a contract. If he decides to sue the University of Florida, they have to do one of two things. They either have to admit that there was a contract in place, in which case they will have to pay him $13 million, or
to not be a student there.
Right, to go somewhere else. Or if they go a different direction with it and claim that there wasn't a contract, and if he can prove that there was and it was based on enrollment, that is an NCAA level 1 violation. So Florida is literally in a massive lose-lose situation right now, where they're just hoping Jaden Rashada just goes away and doesn't say another word. It is fascinating.
Yeah. The only way out for them, and the only time we'll tell this, but the only way out for them right now is if in that contract there were specific like events that he was supposed to appear at as a Florida student athlete. Because you'll notice that's what Tennessee has done with the Vol Club and Spire Sports. It's not just, hey, you come play here and we give you this money. That's not it. It is all based on appearances at specific events. That's why if you join the Vol Club, it'll say like, you get access to, events with players and stuff like. Well, that's this kind of thing. It also includes on VolQuest, they have the Vol Club Confidential podcast. It includes appearances on that podcast. And so if the way the contracts have been arranged with Tennessee's players, it's based off of appearing on these events that they have agreed to.
It can't say anything about performance, and it can't say anything about enrollment.
Right. And so that's why it's based on appearances. And so that's their end of the contract. That's Tennessee's, collateral, I guess you could say, or cover your tail move. That's how they do that. And so it's a win-win. Fans get to win from it because they get to interact with the players at these events. Players win from it because they're getting this money to play and appear at these events. And so it's a win-win. So unless Florida has in their contracts specific events and things like that Rashada was supposed to appear at as a University of Florida athlete, because he could even make the case now if he appears, well, I was there,
right.
And so it has to say in that contract, you have to appear at these events as a University of Florida student athlete. That's their only hope right now. And for their sake, well, yeah,
I'm not even sure it can say as a Florida student athlete, because that would be contingent on enrollment. It's incredibly fascinating because if people will remember, Florida was the first state to buck the NCAA and make NIL legal. So Florida has had more time to work on this than literally anyone else in the country, which speaks even higher to Danny White and Spire Sports. The fact that Tennessee is the model for how to do NIL for literally the whole country. Everybody's watching what Spire and UT are doing and trying to copy it. Is just it's an enormous deal that Danny White does not get enough credit about.
Yeah, totally agree. And I'll tell you, maybe the most important thing that'll come out of this Rashada case is it's going to set legal precedent. That is by far the most important thing, because that precedent that's set in this case is going to impact literally the entire country and the rest of collegiate athletics all across the country and how NIL deals go down. So that is easily the most important element of this, and that's why even as Vol fans, or as if Georgia fans are watching this, because hey, we love our Georgia fans who comment on our videos. Thank you for watching and commenting. I know you don't always agree with us, and that's great. That's fine, but you're helping our channel because it's getting watch time. So we appreciate that. We love
sometimes
you
don't agree with us. Sometimes you don't agree with us, even when we agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. And so we appreciate that, because when you comment like you do, that's great too, because it interacts with our videos and the YouTube algorithm likes that. So we appreciate you guys. But that's, whether you're a Georgia fan, whether you're a USC fan on the West Coast or an Oregon State fan, what happens at the end of this deal with Florida is going to impact everybody. And so that's why it's important, or it could be important even for us as Vol fans, to keep an eye on this to see what happens, because I guarantee you Spire Sports is keeping an eye on it, because this directly impacts their wording and their legal documentation that they give to players from here on out. Like right now, everybody's just trying to have enough foresight to build clauses in and that kind of stuff. Well, this is going to let everybody know exactly what has to happen in every situation. So it's a big deal.
Here's the other thing that's fascinating about it. If Rashada ends up suing, and the lawsuit takes action, every communication from the University of Florida to Jaden Rashada will have to be released in discovery.
Now that would be funny.
You want to talk about some NCAA violations getting out there? I guarantee you there will be a couple.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's fascinating, and darn, I hate it for Florida. Goodness. Oh man, I so hope they just don't lose all their games now. And
I'm sure there's no correlation at all between that and the fact that Florida hasn't announced any commitment in weeks.
Yeah, definitely no correlation whatsoever there. Everything's fine. It's like that meme with the dog and the fire. Like it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. This is fine.
Yep.
Well, go Gators. Hope y'all all, if Florida fans watch this, we hope, well, we don't really hope for the best for you, but we
enjoy your spring.
We'll say that. Yeah. Yeah. Enjoy baseball season. That's what you got. And softball. Florida's good at softball, so enjoy those 2 seasons. But hey, we've had a bunch of people watching with us tonight. That's awesome. We love you guys, man. Thank you so much for watching with us tonight. Make sure you check us out at the Vol Bros on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you want some really good looking, Tennessee apparel, we got you covered there too. Check this out, man. Look at this hoodie. How good looking is that? That's a great looking hoodie right there. You can find that at thevolbros.com and at thevolbros.com. It's getting an upgrade, guys. I'm just saying it's going to be pretty good looking here in a little bit. We're almost done building out the website that we want. So yeah, we're excited. We're having so much fun doing this. We appreciate everybody joining in. Man, it's awesome. It's so much fun to talk about this stuff. So we appreciate everybody. Text a buddy, let them know about the Vol Bros. Share their videos, man. That'd be so cool. Like and subscribe, and always know when we're going live by that notification bell. And we appreciate everybody. So go Vols. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see everybody soon.